In the classic movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind directed by Steven Spielberg, there is this famous 5-tone musical note that was broadcast to outer space after some UFO sightings. Later on, people received a bunch of seemingly meaningless numbers, which turns out to be geographical coordinates for the first contact with the aliens. Although currently we have no evidence of the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence, we are actively looking for them. And in this video, we're going to talk about the latest project known as Beacon in the Galaxy, where we plan to send a message to the aliens and tell them where exactly we're located. Now, as a recap, let's talk about our previous efforts in attempting to contact the aliens. If you're lost in the wilderness, there are two things you can do. You can either actively go looking for people, or you can make yourself easy to be spotted by making a help sign, for example, on a stranded beach. The first type where we are actively looking is analogous to SETI, which stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. In the movie Contact, the character of Jodie Foster is exactly a scientist working on SETI, where she's been listening to radio signals from outer space. And in fact, we humans have been scanning for EM radiations, including radio waves, microwaves, and visible lights, in search of other civilizations. But unfortunately, for over 70 years, we haven't heard a thing. We call this the Great Silence. Now, the second type where we make ourselves easy to be spotted is known as METI, which stands for Messaging Extraterrestrial Intelligence. In 1972 and 1973, NASA spacecraft Pioneer 10 and 11 were sent into space carrying small metal plaques showing the male and female human figures, as well as a map to Earth. In 1977, NASA Voyagers 1 and 2 also carried the famous golden records containing sounds and images from Earth. However, these attempts to contact the aliens is more like putting a message in a bottle and throwing it into the ocean. The chance that they can find it is really small. That is why we should do something more effective that is similar to making a fire and having a smoke that can be seen from afar. We are sending out EM radiations. On November 16, 1974, we had our first message sent. Designed by Drake.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
Not that Drake, but the American astronomer Frank Drake. We had a message encoded in binary form of 0 and 1, which could be translated into a graphical message that attempts to communicate our numerical system, our DNA, our human figures, our solar system, as well as information about the Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico, from which the message was sent. So what happened to the message? Well, the message was targeting the globular star cluster M13 that is 25,000 light years away, and it has only been 48 years since we sent it, so we only have 24,952 years to wait. It's not that long. Now you may wonder, why do we bother sending another message now? Shouldn't radio waves from Earth been leaking into outer space throughout the years because of TV and radio? Isn't it possible for Hitler's video at the 1936 Summer Olympics to leave Earth's atmosphere and become the first video that the aliens see? Well, it comes down to acknowledging the fact that our focused blasts of radio signals are different from those diffuse leakage, because those weak signals will simply fade below the hum of radiation left over from the Big Bang as soon as they leave the solar system. Now, the Beacon in the Galaxy is actually a project led by a scientist in NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It acts as an update to the 1974 Arecibo Message and also as a basic intro to our math, physics, chemistry, and biology. Now, you may wonder, why be a nerd and talk so much about science? Couldn't we share about our popular culture and show the aliens how cool our latest Top Gun movie is? Well, if you've watched the movie Arrival, you should probably know how difficult it could be trying to communicate with aliens, because you'll probably need a linguist trying to decode a message. Language and culture are man-made constructs that could be very difficult to interpret, and the aliens will probably need some background in order to understand. That is why this message to the aliens begins by conveying math and physics concepts in order to establish a universal means of communication. If you look into the paper, you can actually see 13 pages of messages, starting with binary and decimal systems, prime numbers, mathematical operations, exponential operations, algebra, particle physics, our most common elements, our DNA structures, the human forms, the solar system pinpointing Earth, which most of you understood very easily, the map of Earth, composition and characteristics of our planet, as well as RSVP, which is an invitation to return a reply. And last but not least is our cosmic address, which is our position in the Milky Way galaxy relative to other known globular clusters. And this will allow any receiver of the message to pinpoint the exact location of Earth and then send back a message of their own. Now, this message is actually targeting a star cluster near the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is thought to be having intelligent life. It is around 10,000 to 20,000 light years from Earth, so similar to the Arecibo Message, it is going to take quite some while to reach the target. Therefore, we included a timestamp which indicates when the message was sent based on the timeline originating from the Big Bang. Now you may wonder, how do we send the message? It's in 13 pages of information, quite a lot, to fit in one radio signal. Well, in fact, we are sending in binary form again, so in total, we are only having around 25.5 kilobytes of information that can be easily fit in our first floppy disk with plenty of storage capacity to spare. But when will the message be sent? Well, according to what I read, the paper is still under peer review, but the message will probably be sent in 2023, somewhere from March to October, which is the best time of the year because of least absorption by Earth's atmosphere, as well as least interference by the Sun. The message will also be sent by one of the two biggest and most powerful radio telescopes on Earth, the Allen Telescope Array in California, or the 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope, simply known as FAST in China. But an upgrade would be needed because both of them can only receive but not send out a radio signal. Stephen Hawking once warned us of a danger of contacting aliens with superior technology because it could potentially lead to an alien invasion. However, researchers of this project seem to be very optimistic. As they mentioned in the paper, logic suggests a species which has reached sufficient complexity to achieve communication through the cosmos would also very likely have attained high levels of cooperation among themselves, and thus will know the importance of peace and collaboration. My reaction to that is, look at us. Although there's little to no hope to actually get a response from the aliens within our lifetime, this research acts as a good practice for us to consider how we could communicate with the aliens. If you could send a message to them, what would it be? Let me know in the comments below.